Well, I just made another video for today, the 12th of September, but I'm going to put out another one now. This is a news one. As I mentioned in the other one, if you have seen it, it was starting out to also be a political video, but it turned out the area was too interesting, and I decided to make it kind of a walking tour in Minsk a little bit. But actually, this is kind of a walking tour area as well. This is a area where there's also a lot of cafes and things like that, but this is a yuppie area. This is I've been here before, but I don't think you can find a beer for less than €9. And just for your information, the beer that I drank in the video I made right before this one, that was $2.75, which is kind of unheard of also. I remember last year you could get a beer for 2 rubles. I'm not talking about dollars, you're not talking about $2.75, that's $1 for a half a liter of craft beer, $1. I don't think you can touch that price anywhere in the United States. So, but anyway, a lot of these people here, a lot of the girls, for example, I'm not saying all, because I can't speak for everybody, but I know that a lot of them that are here, they're gold diggers, they're looking for rich guys, because there's a casino right over there, looking right at it, at the end of the street. And not just the casino where the rich Russians come, but there's also a lot of foreigners, you know, and there's hotels around this area, and they want to meet a rich guy, of course. And a lot of them, maybe they are indoctrinated into believing that they get to meet one of these guys, marry them or something like that, and then they live a comfortable life in the West or something. So there's a lot of, like, you see spicy cars here, even though the last walk, I showed you a lot of spicy cars. There's an Audi and a Mercedes coming. This is a Volvo over here. And yeah, so. But there's really nothing going on here until the evening time. And like I said, I've been here before. And when I saw 15 rubles for a beer, I said, no, thank you. No, thank you, you know, especially when you can find incredibly great beer for $2.75. You know, I don't know. I'm not going to pay 15 rubles a beer. Sorry if I'm a cheapskate. Looks like here's a hotel, I think, of some sort, and maybe a. I hate to ask the prices of that. As a matter of fact, I think the street that I just went past, they have a. It's a hotel up there, and it's not necessarily right here. It's in between, and there's another area up here that's kind of a touristy area. Prices are kind of high, but the hotel isn't really super bad. As a matter of fact, I wonder if that brick building is that, but I'm not sure. Anyway, if any of you rich people, semi-rich, that want to go stay there, you can look that one up. So let's talk about some news here. Yesterday, Jungle Joseph Borrell, he said that you know, they just had an election in some of the new, well, actually I think it was all the new territories of Russia, you know, Kherson and Zaporozhye and all of those. And you know, of course, the day after the election, they say, we're not going to recognize those elections. Of course not, of course not. Oh, I was so surprised. As you know, because if they can't choose the leaders, as they normally always do, in most elections, the United States, they somehow meddle in all elections, even though they accuse everybody else of meddling. Like, I think, what was it? Vladimir Putin said Donald Trump is a great businessman, and that was meddling in the election. And of course, they used that, of course, to attack Trump. You know, to say he's a Putin agent. Since I'm showing cars today, here's a Chevy, and then a Chinese, and behind that is a Mercedes. And here comes a Minsk truck, made in Minsk. Well, here's another part of that hotel, Robinson. Yeah, Hotel Robinson, Joker. Poker club, I imagine. That's kind of a casino as well. I don't know, it's strange that there's even people here at all, but I guess there is. Like I said, it's a richy type area, and if you want to spend some money, it's very strange because I went here too and I also wanted a beer and they didn't have any beer, even though they advertise it. Incredible. This girl's got some nice hair. A little fountain. Some gold digger girls over there. Let's see. Maybe they work here. They're probably not gold diggers. They don't look like it. So let's keep going on this stuff here, otherwise I'll never get through it. You know, the 70%, over 70% at a minimum is who voted for Russian candidates in those elections. So it's pretty obvious who won on that. Look, Russian beer, Litskaya. I can't believe it. I can't believe it. That's a place for me. I love Litskaya, Russian beer. I mean Belarusian beer. Rasputin. And a lot of these entities are coming out right now. Of course, the United States, obviously, since they're now supplying depleted uranium to Ukraine just as much as Great Britain is. So you have, and it's very strange, of course, Germany and the EU, they said, they're perfectly safe. It's perfectly safe. All those people that, you know, have all these deformities and all of these problems from depleted uranium, that's all just imagined. And, you know, the one that kind of got me is they had somebody from the IAEA, and you could see in his face that he really didn't want to be putting that out. And he said, of course, they're harmless too. And he was practically ready to cry when he was up there. So that was really telling. That was really something. You know, that they're perfectly safe. I don't know, terrible that these people are doing this thing and even have to come and say that. Oh, God, I was wondering what happened to my bike. Doggone it. I should walk up that way. I've never been up there. I've only been in this area like twice anyway. It's not my kind of an area, as you probably already guessed, huh? Okay. So what else did I have to say here? I was writing down something here on these notes that these people that think that these depleted uranium munitions are so completely safe, they need to put some in their house, you know, as kind of like decorations. And then maybe they can just blow off a few of these things, because these are only like tank shell munitions. You know, they can go inside, evacuate the area, blow off a few of these munitions in their backyard, you know, and then just redo it. And then see how they like that, see how they like it. Because it's perfectly safe. So they should be able to do that. You had, allegedly, I think some of the leaders of Japan eating fish out of the waters after they dumped this toxic, actually it's treated water, so it's semi-toxic. I guess tritium or something. They have some things you can't get out of the water after this Fukushima accident. And then they treated the water and they dumped it back in, and they shows them eating fish, just like Obama eating fish out of the Gulf of Mexico, supposedly, via Maine, probably, saying that it's all perfectly fine and it's all safe. And as you all know, if you've guessed, you don't have to guess, because you know there's information, evidence that the Obamas are very, very strict on what they eat and where their food comes from. Very, very, very strict. There's no way, there's no way. I got a bridge to sell you. If you think Obama would be eating some fish, you know, that somebody fished out of the Gulf of Mexico back at those days, in those days when that thing happened. So that's completely ridiculous. The Abrams tanks. You know, I remember I was putting out, well, you should remember, I was putting out that the United States said they're going to send Abrams tanks to Ukraine in the middle of September. And guess what? That's been delayed. They delayed those. And they haven't set a date of when they're actually going to send the Abrams tanks. It looks like a dentist here. Yeah, they haven't announced that. And the reason that was given was because of the low level of training of the Ukrainian crews, whatever that means. I wonder who's been giving them the training. The ones that have the tanks, which is the United States, and I guess the training is not good. So I guess they're saying their training isn't good. But isn't that strange? They're going to be delivering the tanks when they can't move anymore because the soil is going to be all full of mud, and they're extremely heavy tanks. They're not going to be moving at all. So when the Abrams are actually delivered to Ukraine, these Abrams will not be working. They'll be just sitting somewhere in a warehouse. Can you believe that? And as somebody was saying, I don't think it might be part of the truth, but they didn't, the U.S. Contractors, they don't want to lose huge amounts of money because they know that the tanks are going to burn. Obviously, it's part of the reason, but the main reason is, because they want to delay that to where the tanks can't move, and the Abrams is much heavier than all the other tanks. So, yeah. Another thing, the Belarusian KGB, they stopped a terrorist attack on the rail lines here in Belarus. They caught these people, they had photographs and all of the explosives they were going to use, and one of them was from Ukraine, and I think he enlisted, I believe it was 3, maybe 4, doesn't matter to any of us, but anyway, they enlisted some probably Nazi-leaning Belarusians to help him be doing that, so they caught them all. Is that your bike? This looks like an old, actually it looks like the old German Hercules, but it's not, of course. You wouldn't put a German Hercules here. I don't even know where I'm at, to be honest with you. I walked up those steps. I don't know. I just hope I find my way out of here. I can go back the way I came, that's one thing, but I want to keep on going and discover, oh, I know where I'm at. I see something familiar over there. And also been put out by Vladimir Putin in the Eastern Economic Forum, done in Vladivostok. I'll talk a little bit about that, but what he put out is that the number of Ukrainians that have perished since the beginning of this counteroffensive, I guess they measure from the 1st of June, in these past 3 months, is now 71,000 people. 71,000, incredible. And it was just, 60-some thousand they just announced like a week ago? I don't even know. The Iron Lady. It's more like tin. The Iron Lady, is that, what's her name? Who was that prime minister back in those days? Big cafe here. Normally it's really jumping, I guess, at nighttime. You guys think that there's nobody wanting to have anything to do with Belarus, but this is before the hours. Haven't even been through this way. This is a main square, and I'm going to come out sort of behind the cathedral. Like I said, I'm in kind of one of the touristy areas of Minsk. But we're doing news, not tourist things, right? 71,000 in 3 months, I just said that. Kim Jong-un from North Korea has arrived as well, and there will be some meeting between Kim Jong-un and Vladimir Putin, but the main meeting is going to be between Shoigu and Kim Jong-un, and that meeting obviously as you know who Shoigu is, head of the military. And everybody knew this, that it's going to be about military procurement. You would think that it would be Dmitry Medvedev, because that's mostly what his job is, of being the deputy of security, and also not procurement, but of manufacture, domestic manufacture of weapons. That's Dmitry Medvedev's area, and Shoigu I suppose, is going to be part of this procurement from foreign countries, which is going to be from North Korea. And North Korea needs, from what I've been gathering for the past some odd years, they always have a problem with food, feeding the people. So Russia doesn't have that much of a problem, and they're offering free grain to a lot of countries, a lot of impoverished countries. So obviously there is a need from both sides. One wants food, and one wants to be assured of a weapon supply against some fanatical, crazy people who have vowed their destruction. So Russia is going to be, probably to ease up their industry, they're probably going to be buying something or making some sort of an agreement with North Korea, even though until this time they really haven't. Everybody was talking about Russia using drones from Iran, and even a lot of vloggers were saying that that's the truth, but it isn't the truth. At the very beginning, I think Russia got a small amount, and maybe they did use some of these. I don't know what are those? I don't even know what they're called, because I don't follow it, because I know that it's fake. It's not true. It's as much as even a lot of vloggers fell for that. Russia was not using. Russia has tremendous capacity to make their own drones, and they have for quite some time. So these are Giron drones, and even Ukraine has decided to make Iran a super enemy, and then they've been using that, of course, to influence Israel, to try to influence Israel. You know, because as you know, Benjamin Netanyahu, and there's a lot of these hardliners there, they have a seething eternal hatred of Iran, and so they've been trying to use that. And this is all just a bunch of politics, you know. That's how complicated politics is. You know, even though you know a lot of the stuff you're talking about are just nothing but lies and things, and you go along with it, try to create some kind of crap. Like I said, I used to work with a lot of these. I mean, I didn't work with them, but I was around these people. And that's how this stuff works. It's just incredible. You know, I was actually told to leave some meetings, you know, when you have some of these high military people and some politicians, you know, congressmen from the United States, and, you know, I had to leave, you know, when they talk about the sensitive things, but then I did a lot of driving them, and you know, you hear some things, and back then I didn't really care, and I was, you know, pro-U.S., everything about U.S. I'm still pro-U.S., but you know, I'm pro everybody. I'm pro Belarus. I'm pro Ukraine, as a matter of fact. But you know, how you achieve your goals, I guess, is the main thing you got to look at on, you know, for every country. But let's see. Like I said, KGB, they stopped this terror attack, and I already told you. Let's see. And Syria is making some very serious complaints right now to the United Nations, because the United States is really sucking the oil out. They're really sucking the oil out of Syria, I guess, to a maximum extent right now, as much as they possibly can. And then just after say 2 days, I think they took off. Get a smile from somebody. Oh. So after 2 days, I think they sent 95 tankers out of just 2 days of sucking the oil out of Syria. 2 days, 95 tankers. I can't, where did they send that to? I was thinking, did they send that through Turkey, or? I didn't even pay attention, didn't even think about that. But I should have taken that down in my notes, because that's also very important when you find out where they're shipping it. In the past, they used to be, what was it? They were working with supposedly something that they called ISIS, and ISIS was stealing the oil. You know, that's a huge big farce too, and finding out all the intricate details of what really happened, who was doing what to who, that's actually beyond my capabilities, but there must be people around. Maybe the truth will come out a lot more. And you know, ISIS was funding, supposedly ISIS was funding a lot of their activities through the extraction and the sale of Syrian oil, and it was going through Turkey. And as we know, we hear that Erdogan's son was involved in that, and you know, huge convoys of tankers. And one of the first things that Russia did at the very beginning of when they entered this conflict, or that conflict with Syria, is they started bombing these convoys, and that put an end to all of that. You know, Erdogan, he kind of does what's ever best for maybe his country, which wasn't the best at that time, but it was maybe best for his son. because I guess he was making a tremendous amount of money, and Goldman Sachs was, of course, laundering that money at that time, which is basically the U.S. government. Goldman Sachs, they're involved in just about every meeting that the U.S. government ever conducts. That's one of the financial branches of the U.S. U.S. government. So, and I don't know if you all know that. Maybe you've heard it at some point in time anyway. But they're there. They take place and all that sort of thing. So the U.S. is stealing huge amounts. And like I said, it was in an article that I read. It said 95 tankers in 2 days, and I don't doubt it at all. Maybe they held some of that. I don't know. A lot of times you pump oil as fast as you can. Holland has oil, and as you know, now there was oil discovered in Belarus. Very small amount, over 4,000 meters deep. But Holland has an oil field up in the north, Groningen, around the area of Groningen. So that's why the heating bills are a little bit lower, or quite a bit lower in Holland than they are in Germany, for example. Germany has a lot of goodies. They have silver, and they might even have gold. I can't remember. I know they have silver. They have a lot of they have steel, lots of steel and coal, or some coal anyway. I don't know if they have as much as they used to. Anyway, let's not get into that. I'd like to get myself off on tangents. Okay, I already mentioned the 71,000 dead Ukrainians in 3 months. You know, I can go off right now and talk about what really, really, really pisses me off, because you can all imagine, if that's happening in your country, maybe it's some of your relatives, and I don't see that Ukrainian people are any different than Russians or Belarusians or Americans, you know. Even though the Ukrainian hierarchy, the regime themselves, wants you to think that there are people that are less, you know, or just say that there are people that are inferior. And now that, of course, as I said in the last video, the last political video I made, it was about the Nazism of EU, and they're, of course, trying to tell everybody, of course, you know, that Russians are subhumans, and you know, they're going to be subject to worse treatment. Dmitry Medvedev said something like that the Russians are looked at as dogs or second-class citizens, but actually, that's actually worse than second-class citizens. I don't know. He should have said, you know, as non-humans, and that's what the Ukrainians want. So you should add to that, who actually won World War II? It wasn't the Germans, and it wasn't the United States or the Soviets. It looks like it was the ideology. They never stamped out this ideology. That ideology existed in eastern Ukraine, and of course to a small extent everywhere. You know, an ideology is just something that exists in your head, but they allowed it to stay alive in western Ukraine, and now it's spread, and it's spread not just throughout the entirety of Ukraine, not just throughout the Balkan states, and to a large extent in Poland. And Poland is just exactly the ones that should not be having this ideology, but it still exists there. It even exists in certain extents in Belarus, and now it's all throughout the EU. So they're instituting Nazism in the European Union, and it's not very difficult to make a connection and to extend this through the neoconservatives and the neoliberals. So I'm just telling everybody my opinion. It's not really a theory, it's an opinion of this ideology. It's spread inside of these other ideologies like the neoliberals and the neoconservatives, and that's what we're having today. And let's just call it for what it is. This is like a neo-Nazism, and it's going throughout the entire West. And if you want to talk about an iron curtain, it's going to be drawn between humanistic thinking people and people that believe that humanism can be split into two different areas, of those that are superior and those that are inferior. That's what pisses me off. Shouldn't say any more about that. So, but what else now? Putin was talking one thing about in this Eastern Economic Forum, and this was I don't know if this was today. I think it was today, as a matter of fact. I'll tell you what, I don't know if that was yesterday, probably today. And he was talking about the probable end of the Olympics as we know it. Because if you see how the Olympics has been becoming changed, it's not just this transgenderism where women's sports to a large extent are gone because now they're allowing biological males to compete against women, but it's also that Russians are not allowed, and that should not be the spirit of what the Olympics is all about. It should be divorced from politics. You know, this is a people event, and it has nothing to do with politics. So Putin, and I'm hoping that he's going to be accurate on that. Let's see what it. Let me say what it actually said. The Olympics is in decline, and it will be replaced. And then the rest was my part, you know, not because of just the hate Russia and the transgenderism. It's they've destroyed all this. They've made it political, based on politics. So that's not a good thing. Another thing Putin said that was very, very interesting. He said that the Western countries, they're destroying with their own hands, and this is towards the end of my video, so subscribe if you haven't. So they're destroying with their own hands their own system. It's the system of trade and financial relations that they created. They're destroying with their own hands their own system of trade and financial relations. And also another thing, I didn't quite catch it because it was probably very short, but Putin was asked if it is true that the West has frozen $300 billion of their gold reserves. And he said yes. He said something else about that. He said that they have doubled it. Whatever that is about. I'm not sure if he's talking about now that the price of gold has gone up, so that is more than 300 billion. Or, I don't know. You have to look that one up yourself, and maybe somebody can leave something in the notes for me that understood that, what he was talking about, something about doubling or whatever. But $300 billion in gold, and they've frozen that. And as you know, a lot of countries, they after World War II, they kept their gold in the basement of the New York Federal Reserve, including Germany. Germany can't even seem to get their gold out, and they did get half of it out, and the US sent some inferior gold. It wasn't the same gold that Germany sent there, which was of, you know, higher quality. They sent something that was a little bit diluted, lower quality gold back, and still half of it is in the basement of the Federal Reserve. Supposedly, nobody's really seen that either. It's because the United States, they needed a long time to be able to send that gold back, and lo and behold, that's when they had the invasion of Mali, which had a lot of gold reserves, and Germany was also asking for their gold back from France. So it was the United States and France that invaded Mali. Isn't that a coincidence? Isn't that a coincidence? So you tell me. Another thing that Putin, gosh, look, girls smiling at me. Incredible. Probably gold diggers. You know, some girls in nice dresses and things. Anyway, I shouldn't be talking about that kind of stuff. But Putin also announced that there is 270,000 volunteers. 270,000 volunteers that volunteered for military service in Russia over the past 6 to 7 months. And I remember when I was in the Army at the height of the Cold War, I think that might have been the amount of soldiers that the United States had throughout the entirety of Europe. And just having that many people, and that's you know, people that have volunteered in the United States, for example, over the course of many years. And Russia had that many volunteers in 6 to 7 months. Incredible. Talk about, I guess you'd say, patriotism. Anyway, that's about all I have to say right now. I don't think I have any battery time left on my little camera here. So I thank you all for joining me, and I've been putting out a lot of videos lately, and it's because the summer is leaving, and I might be working very, very soon. And I'll be taking Russian classes again, and that starts on the 1st of October. So I was trying to fit a lot of things in while everything's beautiful here, and before it gets depressing in Belarus. So thanks again for joining me, and I'll see you on the next one, and you have to join me for that one. So bye for now.